Thank you very much, Congressman Peters. We will refrain questions until the end of the presentation. So let's now move to another continent, and it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Francesco La Camera, Direttore Generale del Ministero dell'Ambiente, to give us a call for action from the leadership in Europe. Professor La Camera.
Thanks, and glad to be here. I'm really honored to be part of your discussion today. I wish to talk about what we are trying to do, at least domestically. I will do this very briefly, because I understood that in previous days already someone has presented some result of our action here in Italy, and more on the international side. I am the chief negotiator for my country in Bonn. I've been in preparing Paris, so I will try to share some of our thoughts concerning the negotiation and also on the implementation of the Paris agreements. Domestically, as you probably know, we are finally, after 15 years, we have a strategy for sustainable development, and this is the framework for any kind of policies we are going to frame in the next period. So we are trying to build a process where everything is going to be adopted, to be presented as project of law, as be presented for interministerial decision, may pay attention to the coherence and the contribution that the specific decision is going to have on our strategy. And a very important piece of the implementation of the strategy is the energy strategy, where all the goals that has been set at European level in terms of reducing CO2 has been find their way to be get in 2030. So under the emission trading system, we will lower our emission of 43% in 2030, and for all the other sectors, we will have a reduction of 33%. So perfectly in line with the EU commitments to the Paris Agreement. We have also other documents that has been prepared and adopted in this last period, as the bioeconomy strategy that is also important in our point of view, especially when we talk about alternative fuels, and where we, as Italy, we have an important technology that we may offer to the markets. We are working on the circular economy, and we are presenting our own strategy. I think in the previous day you have already learned that we are #1 in Europe as a circular economy. So we are trying to do our best on that. And next week we will have in Rimini this Stati Generali of green economy, where this result will be well presented. We are also working on the financial side, and we are trying to get Milan as a green district together with others around the world. And this very shortly about what we are doing at the domestic level. At international level, I think the key point this year has been the G7 environment. Just before 1 week, the summit was going to build. We received the notice from the US that they were going to, at least they wanted to withdraw from the Paris Agreement. We never understood at the time if they was clear to them that they have to wait at least 3 years. So probably they will not conclude their intention under this presidency. This presidency will last for the 4 years mandate. And that anyway has been important because we have been able to write many chapters where also the US has been capable to agree with us. So we have this very strong commitment towards the Agenda 2030. And what was important for us, and is important in our international commitment, in line with what at the UN level is thinking, is that any policy, including climate change policy, has to be under the hat, under the chapeau of the Agenda 2030. So that is the really overarching strategy that we have to implement around the world. It is important in the G7 communique, in general in our action, including in the climate negotiation, the aspect of finance. This makes a little bit worry concerning the US position, because we have this promise of the famous 100 billion. We have the Green Climate Funds, our commitments, and our fear is that in this confused, interaction with the US concerning climate change, we are going to lose that. It's very clear to us when we work together with our US colleague that they have not a solid domestic position. That is very clear for us. And from that, what we may understand, that they will not obstruct our work. So I don't expect the US to obstruct any kind of work under the climate negotiation. But what we are losing is their initiatives. This is the main problem we have, because I can assure that, especially in the way to Paris in the last 2 years, the Obama administration was absolutely fantastic. And this is a matter of fact. So I'm sure they will not obstruct, but they will not lead. And our fear is quite a certainty, unless the Congress will do some miracle on that they will reduce their financial engagement, and this will be a problem. But there is also another problem that is no less relevant in this context, and is the role of the multilateral bank system. Because in fact they are changing their attitude, but the speed they are doing the change is not the one they may wish. And this was already before Trump. So we have not yet understood completely what could be the impact of the change of the US administration in the work of the multilateral bank system. The signs we receive are not so exciting. So we have to be careful. We have advised all our executive director in the multilateral bank to report to us whenever we understand that there will be a danger for the action of the multilateral banks. We have already received some alarm, because the US is encouraging the system to finance in the developed country project with carbon intensive. So that's something is an alarm that we have in the pipeline, especially in the Asian bank development. We have many projects that are not really carbon friendly. So this is one problem, because if the bank we are going to finance what is already in their pipeline with high content of carbon, the Paris Agreement will be the goal of the Paris Agreement will be very much more difficult to beget. So this is something that we have to monitor. I think a group like this has also to monitor, to check if really the Trump is really little, as has been said in this particular field. Also, if domestically they are not a unique body, they can come with some bad result for having the Paris Agreement fully implemented. Another initiative that we are trying to lead is this idea of have this international network of green financial centers. We had last month a meeting in Casablanca with 11 financial centers from all around the world. We will present this network in Paris in the occasion of the summit that's been convened by President Macron. And we will have next spring in Italy the first meeting of the green financial centers. It's very important, I think, because the liquidity is there. So in fact the trillions are around the world. well, the problem is how we can make this money go into the right direction. And the financial centers can play a very important role where inevitably the markets are the place where most may happen. Naturally, we have to harness the market, but the market is there. We are also trying to support the offices of the Secretary General, in particular the offices of the Deputy Secretary General, Madame Amina, because she's dealing with sustainable development, and we are trying to enhance the capacity of the UN system to work on finance for sustainable development. And we wish, starting from the second half of the next year, the Secretariat can come with some product of the work that we are supporting in these circumstances together with Germany. Before Paris and after Paris, we are working on concerning the cooperation activity with three priority lines. The Pacific, in this case, not the SIDS, the small island of the Pacific, to be clear, the Caribbean and Africa. And this for a very simple reason, because they are the region that are probably most impacted by the effect of the climate change. And we have our own philosophy in this respect. We are a little bit worried that in preparing Paris, the country have submitted their national commitment on what they intended to do. The fact that our estimation is that more than 30–35% of those commitments are not perfectly national driven, but are in the ownership of the consultants. They made that national commitments. So our attitude is trying to build the ownership of the country we are working with. We now have 70 bilateral agreements that we are trying to enforce, trying to make to show our way to work. We always trying to say we are not trying to do cooperation. We are just want to collaborate with this country to enhance their capacity to access the funds of the bank system, to enhance their capacity to prepare projects that could be bankable, to enhance the capacity of this country to prepare the environment to receive money. Because this is also the problem. We have the Green Climate Fund. They have already committed money. In the last 1.5 years, they have not been capable to spend the money because there is not the capacity. And not everything could be left to the multilateral institutions. Because if not, we repeat an experience that's been positive, but not so positive as we may wish. So what we are trying to do, and we made an agreement, a general agreement with the UNDP, where Mr. Steiner is now there, is a really nice guy, has very clever mind, is very open. And what we are trying to do is make the multilateral working for the bilateral to guarantee the ownership of the beneficiaries. So any idea must come from the country we want to work with. Cannot be just something that's mature out of their specific needs. In the G7, okay, I will try. I'm really going to finish. The last thing is that we have tried to establish this center that will be established in the FAO and also the UNDP collaboration for Africa, because sometimes also the G7 country, we go in different parts of the world, we are doing something, no one is knowing what the other are doing, and we want to try to facilitate the exchange of information to be more effective. The last comment is what we will receive from Bonn. My expectation is that we will receive a clear roadmap on how we will arrive in 2018 and to have the facilitated dialogue there, and having a rule book that make Paris Agreement operational be adopted. This probably will be a unique big decision, but for coming there, I think from Bonn we expect to the mandate to a consolidated text where all the options will be there, that will be discussed starting from January, February, to be on time for the Katowice COP24 in Poland. I hope that we will deliver what we promise. I'm quite sure we will get it. Thank you.